Have I ever confessed my crimes on Reddit? Absolutely not, but you know who has? These people. So today, I'm going to be reading some of the worst drug or medical related confessions on r/confessions. And I'm going to be judging every single one because I know a lot about drugs and medical stuff. Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. My name's Aina and I'm an oncology pharmacist. And we're going to decide together whether you should be forgiven or condemned. I want to hook up with my patient's son, okay? I, female 26, I'm a fresh doctor that recently started working in the internal medicine ward. Ooh, congrats, internal medicine doctor. We had an elderly patient admitted for a couple months and his son would visit him 3 to 5 times a week. He was a handsome gentleman in his 30s, very tall, about 6'2", and well built. For reference, I'm 4'11" and petite, with features that make me look younger than I am. Ooh, okay. Patient's handsome son, who is tall, gentlemanly, well-built, and we know also has a kind heart, who would take time off to visit his father 3 to 5 times a week. The first time we met, he was in his father's room and briefly stepped out to look for a paper cup. I happened to be at a workstation right next to his father's room, so he asked me where he could find a paper cup so he could use to brush his father's teeth. That's a very nice thing to do for your father. I told him I'd bring him one and left my desktop to ask a nurse for the same. She told me they ran out of them at the ward and that he should get one from the cafeteria. I quickly went to the cafeteria, which was only 2 floors up, and brought back a paper cup. When I handed it to him, he was so grateful and said that he didn't expect a doctor to go out of the way to help him with something so trivial. Me being the youngest and most junior in my team, I'm used to doing this sort of work. I reassured him that I'm happy to do it. Alright, I can already sense a little bit of simping for this guy. I know what she's saying though. She's the most junior doctor. She's willing to go the extra mile for patients and her colleagues, but I don't know. If I asked the nurse for a cup and they were like, oh, we ran out of cups on this floor, you know, there's more cups in the cafeteria. For me, and if I was just in a very professional relationship with another patient, I'd probably go ask him, hey, sorry, we ran out of cups on this floor, but there are more in the cafeteria if you don't mind go and check. And that's probably the most I would do. So for her to go all the way to the cafeteria and bring back a paper cup, I don't know. I feel like there's something more going on here. He then introduced himself to me and squatted down next to me. So we would be at eye level since he was so tall and was sitting while working on the desktop. I'm personally not very short. I think I'm average height for a woman. Okay, let me know in the comments if you think squatting down to talk to someone shorter is a good move. I don't know how I would feel if they just suddenly squatted down to talk to me. Then he caught me off guard once when I was done with my shift and was waiting for my ride in front of the hospital. He sat next to me on the bench I was seated and we had a long conversation. This time about his work and hobbies. He said he was an engineer working in a construction company. I engaged in dialogue, but it never felt like flirting, and I never got the feeling that he was interested in me. He ended the conversation by giving me his business card and then quickly touched my back while saying goodbye. Girl, are you sure that's not flirting? I don't know. He gave you his card and he touched your back. A few days later, his father was discharged and I haven't seen him since. I still have his card and I'm very tempted to send him a text. Alright girl, this girl is hopeless. Get a grip on yourself, doctor. Before we start reading the comments, here's what I think. If you really want to go for it, I don't think the hospital has any hard rules to say you cannot be in a relationship or date a patient's relative. You definitely can't date your patient, but patient's relative is kind of a gray area. So here's how I would go about doing this. First, you want to read your entire hospital's policy regarding this, right? You can email your HR or hospital administrator. I'm sure they have the most updated document posted on your internal website or wherever. Ask them to send that to you. Read that section, okay? If it says in black and white, you cannot date or be involved in a patient's relative, then forget about it, okay? But if it's not in black and white, then you can take the next step. The next step would be to wait for the patient to be discharged. You definitely do not want to do this while the patient is still in hospital. Even though black and white doesn't say you can't, it's just not ethical, right? Imagine in a situation where the patient is still sick in your hospital and you are his doctor. You're also dating the patient's son. And I'm sure during your relationship, you're gonna talk a lot about your father. you're gonna learn a lot more about him and his family than you would as just his doctor. And that situation is going to create a huge conflict of interest for you. What I would do is hold off, don't do anything right now. Wait for the patient to be discharged. And if you still can't forget about this guy, it might be okay for you to contact him. Then here's the risk. What if the patient gets readmitted? If they get readmitted, they become your patient again, but now you're dating the son. What are you gonna do? I think the best way is to let another doctor take care of this patient because you have a pre-existing relationship with the patient's son. And this is common. For example, if your own family member falls ill, it's unethical for them to see you for medical advice because you're in a position of conflict of interest. What you would do is you would refer your family member to see someone else who only have a professional provider to patient relationship with your family member, right? And it's actually what is advised for us to do. There's this really famous example. If you were the doctor working in the emergency department and they wheeled in your unconscious ex-boyfriend or girlfriend, what would you do? Let's read the comments. I guess I don't understand how it's not ethical when you were not the doctor in charge of his father's care. Even then, once his father was discharged, I feel like it becomes fair game. He definitely wants you to hit him up. She might not be the main doctor, but she might be, let's say, on call one day and has to see the patient, right? Even though once his father was discharged, I feel like it's fair game. Well, he could also be readmitted. This person says, go for it. You have no way of knowing if the father will ever be readmitted. He could walk out the front door and be hit by a bus. Fuck gray areas, go for it. Please don't let this guy get away. He sounds like a very decent bloke, a gentleman in fact. I like the sound of his approach. He sounds confident, not creepy, and he sounds well into you and you deserve it. Yeah, I mean, I can see the attraction. You know, 30s, tall, engineer, well-built, squats down to talk to you. I recently left my job as a pharmacy technician for a major retail pharmacy and feel the need to confess something. And to also bring awareness to how easy, and it's done more commonly than expected, it is to steal prescription drugs off the job. Ooh, okay, right off the bat, we're actually confessing to true crimes here. Only took me about 2 weeks to realize. Pharmacies, this one, are much more lax than I ever imagined, and that product loss is something that's not only a huge loss of revenue, but that it happens every day, a few times a day, and is considered just one of those things we deal with. This real case happened in 2022. It's an Alberta pharmacy technician stealing Coca-Cola from his hospital. Okay, let's read the official documents here. So he diverted Coca-Cola powder from the hospital's narcotic inventory on one or more of March 22nd, March 24th, March 26th, and March 27th, 2022. He created false narcotic vault access records to facilitate and attempt to conceal his diversion of Coca-Cola from the hospital. He misused approximately 1.25 grams of Coca-Cola during the period in which he continued to work at the hospital and provided professional services. Bro was just doing Coca-Cola in the hospital while working. Holy crap. Why would the hospitals have Coca-Cola? That's because actually Cola has some medical uses. Cola can be used for its anesthetic and vasoconstrictive effects. Vasoconstrictive means making the blood vessel tighter and smaller. Cola can also be made into eye drops for some neurologists or ophthalmologists to use for certain rare conditions. So it's rare. It's not like doctors are writing prescriptions for Cola all the time, but it does have its use. All right, personally, I've also heard this one story. My colleague who works in a busy community pharmacy, their store had a problem with their inventory for codeine cough syrup never matching what they actually have in the safe. They always attributed this to maybe when the staff is pouring out the codeine cough syrup because they come in actually quite large jars and patients usually only take 50 to 100 mils each time. So we would pour them in small amber bottles before dispensing it to the patient. With the missing volume on the inventory, the store at first just thought, oh, maybe, the staff just overpoured. But it was getting more and more suspicious. And it turns out one of her colleagues was just drinking the codeine cough syrup at work. She would go to the safe, open the syrup, and just casually take a swig. But for the most part, the techs have access to every single prescription drug you can think of. Controlled substances are generally locked in a safe and only the pharmacist can access, but literally all we did was tell them what drug was needed for a fill. They just have to get it out and hand it to us for fill. Since the pharmacist stays super busy all day, you can slip 1 or 2 pills here and there while filling. And unfortunately, the odds are they will never notice the discrepancy. All right, so far, whatever this person has said it's kind of true. So here's how pharmacies work. So you have your pharmacy owner who probably doesn't work here and is just rolling around in money, laughing to himself. You got your pharmacy manager who probably has one of the worst jobs on earth, who needs to oversee the operation, inventory, and everything that goes on around the pharmacy. So he usually works, eats, sleeps, and does everything in the pharmacy. Then you've got your staff pharmacists. They're also there to supervise licensed pharmacy technicians or unlicensed pharmacy assistants. So it sounds like the OP here is an unlicensed pharmacy assistant. The pharmacist is the person who's doing the double check at the end to make sure your work is correct. So even though this person is doing all the detail-oriented and important tasks of actually filling a prescription, the pharmacist's license is actually on the line. So the OP is saying, basically everyone in the store has access to any prescription drugs you can think of, even the ones that are kept in the safe. And you know what those are, right? The controlled, the narcotics, the stimulants, and every single good stuff you can possibly think of. And he's saying because pharmacists were just busy, talking to patients, filling prescriptions. Oh, you need something from the safe? Yeah, let me open the safe and I'll grab it and here you go, you can go fill it. Here's the thing though, just because the pharmacist can't see you putting the pill in your pocket at the spot, there are cameras actually everywhere. There needs to be one that's directly looking at the safe, another one directly looking at the cash register. There needs to be one overlooking the whole dispensary. And this is exactly why those cameras are there. Pharmacies actually get robbed more than banks in some places. All right, so this section gets even juicier. I miss being able to go to work and take an upper if I'm having a bad day. But I knew that eventually, no matter how slick I was going to get caught. That's a felony offense for stealing controlled substance and up to $500,000 fine. I now knew I wasn't interested in continuing a career in pharmaceuticals because I knew that I'd never be able to go back to not stealing pills. What? So I left and went into something different. It's the OP saying the only reason he's not continuing a career in pharmaceuticals because he knows he can't steal pills? Wow. And yet, what he talked about being caught and getting fined, that absolutely can happen and will happen. Not something I would recommend. Should this be forgiven or condemned? I think condemned. OP, I'm glad you opened up about this, but as a pharmacist, we can't forgive you for stealing our drugs. This one, one drug-fueled night killed me. January 12, 2024 will forever live in infamy. That Friday night irreversibly turned my happy, healthy, successful life upside down. At my brother's 50th birthday in Cabo,
Coca-Cola
fueled the festivities. Ooh, I mean, I feel like you should be at an age where you can hang out with the people around you and enjoy the festivities without any substances, right? By no means a user, I'm also not a novice. I'm a typical millennial who never... Millennial? His brother's 50 and he's a millennial? Does that work? As midnight approached, I was handed by a banker what I was told was MDMA. For those of you that don't know, MDMA is ecstasy or Molly. I didn't particularly want to roll that night in Cabo, being late and tired from flying out of DC at the crack of dawn, having just gotten back from Colombia days before, so I nearly said no thanks. Oh, nearly said no thanks. So close. We're so close. But your brother only turns half a century once, and I didn't overthink it. I split the cap in half with my fingers, swallowed what I figured was a light dose, and kept on with the party. Biggest mistake of my life, across all years, the one that changed everything. Again, the logic behind doing drugs. Yes, your brother only turns half a century once, but he's not right beside you, and it's not like you guys are taking it together. Like that last scene from The Last of Us where Ellie and her friends are like, let's just wait together and see what could happen. This could be poetic.
You know, we could be all poetic and just lose our minds together.
Your brother's not even in the picture. You're just being selfish and want to feel extra good and has nothing to do about your brother turning 50. When added to the
Coca-Cola,
MDMA instantly had a negative effect. This time, I felt an overwhelming anxiety. On the third night when I tried to sleep, no sleep came, none. On day 4, I flew to Mexico City for routine work meetings and events. The same pattern continued that night and the one after. No sleep. Oh boy, this is a long confession about mixing
Coca-Cola
and MDMA causing chronic insomnia. Man, he's like the real-life Ed Norton character from Fight Club. By the 3-month mark, I trialed 40 plus prescriptions. orexin inhibitors, adrenergic receptor agonists, benzodiazepines, Z-drugs, beta blockers, tricyclics, tetracyclics, melatonin modulators, antiepileptics, anticonvulsants, antipsychotics, and eventually full-on anesthetics. And nothing worked? I mean, for healthy, normal people, just half a tablet of a benzo or a Z-drug can knock you out for hours. As weeks passed, I became so desperate for sleep that I shelled out $1,000 for one QVivic, which had helped Matthew Perry. Not knowing if it would work, it didn't. Yeah, this is definitely not as expensive in Canada. It's still expensive though at, I believe, a few dollars per pill, but this is a new class of insomnia medications. They market themselves by saying instead of making you really drowsy and putting you to sleep, this chemical actually suppresses the wake drive. So basically it's like fighting the urge for your body to wake up. Therefore, you're letting the resting and the sleeping part of your brain take over. But I guess this didn't work for him. On hearing my story after examining my chart and consulting with his colleagues at Hopkins caused a 1 in a million reaction in my brain. When combined with the volatile punch of dopamine from
Coca-Cola,
MDMA created serotonin syndrome that fried my 5-HT system through toxicity. Serotonin controls sleep in a way that requires a delicate balance. Serotonin syndrome. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. This is actually a condition pharmacists need to counsel patients a lot on because a lot of prescription drugs can also cause serotonin syndrome. A lot of antidepressants, SSRIs or SNRIs can increase serotonin level. A lot of antipsychotics like aripiprazole, if someone was taking multiple drugs that can increase serotonin level, they can enter a state called serotonin syndrome, which is kind of what the OP described the first couple of hours he took the two drugs together. You get anxiety, you get insomnia. A lot of people also have heart palpitations, sweating, increased blood pressure. It's a very, very uneasy and uncomfortable state to be in, and it can be life-threatening. We always advise patients if they feel any of these symptoms, they need to go to the hospital right away. I wonder if he had gone to a hospital right away after he felt the symptoms and maybe they do something to try to flush all the medications out of his system, would he still suffer so badly and chronically after taking those two drugs? Man, I'm happy that he shared this story on Reddit. This is only 2 months ago and he's gotten 1.7k upvotes and 390 comments. So it's a helpful story to convince people to never take drugs at the cost of his own happiness and his own health. Forgiven or condemned, I feel like his life has already condemned him, so who am I to pass on the judgment, right? Maybe coming from me, I would forgive him because he's now put out this amazing story to teach us to never do what he did. If you invite me over to your house, I will look in your bathroom drawers and medicine cabinet. I don't touch anything, just a quick open and close, but I will look. You'll be amazed how many people are so trusting of their visitors. I know which friends are trying to have a baby, which are on antidepressants, and which one wears partial dentures. Okay, honestly though, everything that he's listed here are not really embarrassing. Maybe for some people, but for me, because I'm a pharmacist, I deal with patients who are on these every single day. I don't find talking about them embarrassing. And that's one of the main goals of having my channel, is to be able to talk openly about chronic health conditions that we have and medications we're on. This is also a PSA to lock up your drugs or get rid of them. If I was looking, I assure your cousin Joey at Christmas will too, and he may have a taste for that expired Percocet you have in your drawer from your broken ankle last year. If your doctor prescribes you Percocet for breaking your ankle, you should fire your doctor, okay? Get someone who actually cares about opioid overuse and abuse. Like, you shouldn't have Percocet lying around in your drawer, right? They should only give you just enough so you have enough pills to last you through your surgery or your injury or whatever. Like, you should not even have them lying around after your case is over. Also, who keeps medicine in the bathroom? Okay, let's be honest here. Comment down below if you do. This is not a judgment for all of you that keep your medicine in the bathroom. This is just advice from a pharmacist. It's actually not good to keep your medicine in the bathroom because bathroom temperatures and moisture levels can vary a lot throughout the day. If you take a hot shower, your bathroom is gonna be very hot, like 27, 28, 30 degrees. A lot of the medications have to be kept under 30 degrees, and the moisture level is going to be really high, and that can really impact the stability of the pills. The drug company that made Percocet, Purdue Pharma, was sued by the US government for $7.4 billion because they were basically the reason for the opioid epidemic in America. I actually made a video talking about drug commercials in America, and I talked a lot about Percocet, so I'll leave that here and down below if you're interested. Oh, and forgiven or condemned? Condemned. Stop looking through other people's stuff. The cancer is going to win soon. My last wish is to see the ocean. I'm 55 years old, female, and I have stage 4 pancreatic and breast cancer. I've been slowly losing this fight for several years as this year comes to an end, and I have come to a conclusion that I'm going to pass. This is extremely sad and difficult to see, but it's something that we as cancer professionals have to see every day. You might be wondering, how the hell is it possible that this woman has both pancreatic and breast cancer? Well, it's actually more common than you might think. I've seen a handful of patients that have 2 or 3 different types of cancers. I've talked to a colleague that has seen 5 different types of cancers simultaneously in a single person's body. So breast cancer means the tumor originated from the breast. Pancreatic cancer means the tumor originated from the pancreas. If it's a breast cancer metastasized to the pancreas, when we do the biopsy, we would see that there are tumor cells growing on the pancreas, but they actually are breast cells. She actually has 2 unique origins of her cancer. And a lot of the times when people have 2 cancers at the same time, they have to get 2 separate chemotherapy treatments, which is insane because one set of chemotherapy is already destructive enough. I do chemo, but the medicine, all the treatments are pointless at this stage in my life, and I've accepted that. Yeah, if someone's stage 4, that means they're palliative. All the chemo that's doing is trying to prolong your life or give you a better quality of life, but at this point, there's no way for curing your cancer anymore. The only thing that would make me smile more is to see the ocean. That's one thing I've never been able to do, and there is one 10 hours from me. But treatments and co-pays always consume so much from me, and then after, I'm left too weak or broke to go. So my fellow Redditors, thank you for reading and thank you for the many hours of posts and laughs and tears I've had over the many years. You're a fantastic family and community. Thank you. Going through cancer or some other chronic disease can be such a lonely process. I think having a supportive community of people who've gone through the same thing or people who are knowledgeable about your condition is super important in having a good conversation. And I feel like sometimes when I'm talking to a patient, not only do they want to seek medical information from me, and a lot of times they're looking for comfort as well. I give the bad tasting medicine to kids that drive me nuts. Okay, is this a doctor or a pharmacist? I'm a doctor. Okay, so this is a doctor. I see a lot of child patients. See a pediatrician? Some of them are nice, some of them are not. Well, I don't know. You chose to work in a profession to work with kids. I think you should have known that not all children are mature and communicate or think on the same level as you. Of those that are not, some are just little bitches. What? Bro, this doctor needs to chill. They start screaming before you even say hello there. So if I have to prescribe medicine to these kids, I give them the medicine that I know tastes the worst out of the possible viable options. And I stress to the mother that the whole prescription must be used as instructed. TLDR, medicine tastes bad, revenge tastes good. What is wrong with you? Why are you taking revenge on children? And also, isn't it your job? Of course, when a child comes to see a doctor, they're going to be screaming and crying. And I would imagine that's the norm. If you see a really well-behaved, very polite, very mature child, that's like the golden child that you see once in a million. Completely not professional for you. And also, as a pharmacist, I think most Western children medication actually tastes pretty good. They put a lot of effort in the flavoring and the coloring and the packaging so the child is willing to take the medication. So I don't even know what you mean by picking a drug that you know tastes bad. Like, can you give me an example of what child medication tastes bad? And on top of that, the entire end result for you to do this is that the child is going to hate you more. And it's not like you can get rid of them. They're your patient. So next time they see you, they'll cry and scream even more. So you're basically just doing it to yourself. This is definitely not forgiven. I condemn you, doctor. Oh, okay. I didn't realize being judgmental can be so tiring. I'm thinking of making this into a series, so if you have more suggestions or links to other horrible medical confessions or bad drug or medical advice, please send them to me. I would love to read them. Now you can go watch the video I made about Purdue Pharma and Percocet and me watching all the American drug commercials because we don't get them here in Canada. They're illegal. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more contents like this. I'll see you in the next one. Bye!